Okay, I think we slowly have people signing in. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Nicole Hallowell, and I'm an academic advisor at Penn State Lehigh Valley. I'm going to be the facilitator for this session. This session is a growth mindset plus entrepreneurship skills plus mentoring equals path to career success. Just a reminder that this session is being recorded. It will be available in the Whova platform for the next 3 months in case you want to go back and refer to it. As in maybe some of your previous sessions, the presentation is in a Zoom meeting format. We do encourage audience participation. You have access to turn on your camera and your microphone, but we ask that you stay muted while our presenters are presenting. We do have a Q&A feature. The Q&A and chat features are actually available in the Whova platform. We already have a couple questions in the Whova platform, but please feel free, if you think of more questions throughout the presentation, add them to the Q&A area in Whova, and we'll come back to those at the end of the session. And just across the board in Whova, don't forget, please, to check out some of those other features like the discussion boards and all that today. And also, if you need closed captioning, you do have the button on the bottom of your Zoom screen to enable closed captioning. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. We have Joe Gatto, Principal and CEO of JGO Services. We have Elizabeth Hay, Director of Happy Valley Launchbox. We have Ann Hoig, Associate Professor from University Park. And we have Shadon Kulturel-Konak, Professor from our Berks campus, joining us today. So Ann, I will hand it over to you to get us started.
Thank you, and welcome everybody, and thank you for coming to our session. The name of this session is A Growth Mindset plus Entrepreneurship Skills plus Mentoring equals Path to Career Success. So just a little context before my colleagues address you in more detail is I'm going to give you a little introduction on what growth mindset means to us and how it relates to entrepreneurship education at Penn State. And then my colleague here, John Gatto, is going to talk about his journey from first-generation student to entrepreneur. Elizabeth Hay is going to talk about all the resources that are available to students, and if their parents are in Pennsylvania, their parents as well, from Invent Penn State, all the entrepreneurship and innovation resources. And then finally, my colleague at Berks, Shadon, is going to talk about research that she's conducted that we think is going to inform what all the advocates at this meeting do in terms of advising and directing them to services that might help them. Her research is on student awareness, perceptions, and entrepreneurial intentions. And then really, toward the end, we hope that there's time for you to give us input on what you'd like to see our entrepreneurship and innovation programs do for first-generation students. So first of all, I'm guessing that a lot of people in the audience already know a lot about growth mindset. So this will be just really brief to set the tone, give some context. So a growth mindset is nothing more than what Angela Duckworth says in one of her books, the belief that the ability to learn isn't fixed. It can change with your effort. So this idea that you can change your current situation, and particularly when it turns in terms of your ability to learn, that you can learn anything, a belief that you can teach yourself anything or learn anything. There are some elements or characteristics of a growth mindset: the belief that intelligence can be developed, embracing challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as a path to mastery, and finally, learning from criticism. These are characteristics that are common among people who have a growth mindset. And it's a continuum from fixed mindset to growth mindset, and there's a continuum in between. So how does a growth mindset relate to entrepreneurship education? So those of us who teach entrepreneurship and innovation at Penn State, and by the way, I'll just say that there are 12 different academic and fellows programs in entrepreneurship at Penn State. They're offered at all different campuses, and you can contact us later to learn more about it. But what is common to all of our programs is that we feel that an entrepreneurship education at Penn State entails not just your rigorous coursework and what you choose as your major and or your minor, but also deep engagement in co-curriculars and work and professional or startup experience. That a college education is rounded around. It includes all three pieces of this pie. And then I'll just add that whatever it is a student studying, Penn State Entrepreneurship and Innovation offers opportunities in all three of these spheres. Okay, I'm going to hand it off now to John, who's going to talk about his journey from being a first-year student or first-generation student at Penn State to being a founder and successful entrepreneur and his ideas about the future. John?
Thank you, Ann. And good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for letting me be a part of this. I really appreciate that. Just thinking back here a little bit, I attended Penn State a little over 45 years ago, and as a first-gen student. And as you can imagine, things were a little bit different back then than they are today when it came to the kind of resources available for students, right? And struggling through that and a family that had no experience with college or university in their background made it a little bit more difficult than I suspect it is today. Nonetheless, I made it through and pursued a career in engineering and in the STEM field, and that kind of morphed itself into new business development. And I was very fortunate to be involved in 5 entrepreneurial startups, the last of which I exited in 2015. And after that, I formed my own consulting group, which you see in my bio. So that's kind of the background. It was a great journey, and again, I was very fortunate to be put in some positions I was able to take advantage of, and it worked out well for me. But I'd like to fast forward though and talk about today and what I'm doing now and how that relates to the mindset that we're discussing here today. I learned about the Invent Penn State through the development office, and thought that it might be a good opportunity to re-engage and keep myself fresh. So the Invent Penn State initiative started, and I was introduced to the Entrepreneurship and Innovation program about 7 years ago, and I've served on the advisory board at Penn State Berks with Shadon and her efforts out there. I also work with the Berks Launchbox, but most importantly, I think in the things that I do today through the entrepreneurship program is I have the opportunity to mentor student startups, which is kind of been one of the highlights of my career. So as a mentor to the student startups, I try to use my experience to help and advise these students, and a lot of it's based on helping them avoid mistakes I made in my career. Right? There's a lot of things that go right, but there's also just as many that go wrong, and how you have to pick yourself up and move on. So these experiences help these young business people, I think, a lot. Okay, it's a fulfilling experience for me. I think sometimes I learn more from the students and the program than they learn from me, because the processes are so unique and the students are so bright and capable that it becomes a learning experience for me. Where I think I connect the best and get the most fulfillment out of this is when I see the students start to connect all the dots and put it all together, from taking whether they're developing a service or a product and taking it from concept through the development stage. They go through discovery. We talk about funding, we talk about investments, we talk about business model and structure, marketing plans, and then to go from all of that to the launch of a business is really, really a good experience for me and very fulfilling. And I was very fortunate that one of the teams that I was able to mentor were also first generation students. It was a brother and sister team, and they really came up with a good idea for a good product, a good service. And it was just amazing to me what exceptional students they were. They're very, very engaging sort of personalities, and they possess the level of emotional intelligence that you don't see very often. And they had great passion for what they believed in, and it was really the real driver to their success, their sort of mindset going forward. So, but that's just one experience that I've had and it just happened to be with first gen students. So that's kind of my background and how it relates to the entrepreneurship and this mindset we talked about. Based on my experience in the past, for the past just about 7 years, I've been involved now, I think, and with the NT program and Shadon and all of those on the academic side. I believe that Penn State does a really good job at promoting the program, and I'm surprised that more students don't get engaged. There's a lot of resources available, but it's kind of my opinion, and I don't know how others feel about this, but I think the university can probably help help a little bit more by getting more mentors engaged, whether it's from the alumni base or the relationships the university has with third parties, and whether they be business partners or suppliers or other universities, to help attract more mentors, because I think the students, in fact, more than think, I know that the students gain a lot from the mentorship program. It means a lot to them, and they appreciate and they do a really good job engaging, and that's something that the way that I think that's how the university could add another little dynamic to the resources that they provide, is have a bench of mentors available that can help reach out. And then the final comment that I have on this is that I think the university has the opportunity or has the ability to offer these startup teams a way to partner with them a little closer by offering them the ability to do some of their trials or alpha beta testing within the university network or within university partners. That seems to be a little bit of it's a big challenge for any startup to find early adopters and find a way to get a product tested. If it's coming from the university and the university has the ability to support these teams a little bit better in this way by allowing them to do their trials or their alpha or beta tests within a university network, I think that would be a huge advantage and a big help to these teams. So that's kind of my story, and I would at this point I'd like to pass off to Elizabeth.
Thanks, John. I was taking lots of notes during your session to kind of add into some of the stuff that we offer that aligns with some of the things that you said. But hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Hay. I'm actually the Jack White Family Director of the Happy Valley Lunchbox, powered by PNC Bank. That's my entire long title. But I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you about the ambition of Invent Penn State and what the Happy Valley Lunchbox and all the 21 different innovation spaces across the Commonwealth do specifically to empower student career success and how that can help first generation students. So the mission of Invent Penn State is to drive job creation, economic development, and student career success across the Commonwealth. And what you'll learn about our program today is that we've been set up as a mission to not only serve the students, but also the community. So we have kind of this unique role. Most of the time when you find a lunchbox in one of the 21 locations, we're in the downtown location of that city that we're in. So next slide, please. Am I controlling the screen here? Okay. So our mission at Happy Valley Lunchbox is to provide the resources, facilities, and support to early stage startups that need to de-risk and accelerate their entry to market. We work really closely with the NT Minor and was the first presenter and in charge of that program. And really, we want to make sure that we are providing those resources and support for people to test those ideas. So as John was mentioning, sometimes just getting your idea out there to the public and testing it is hard. And so we provide small seed funding and small programs for people to build those MVPs or those minimal viable products and then push them out into the world and just test them. So that's been a really great opportunity and part of what aligns with our mission and can help reduce some barriers. We know that one of the #1 barriers for minorities and in underserved populations is just that small amount of seed funding to get started on their products. So we can offer that advising and seed funding for that. Next slides, please. So our growth mindset, what we kind of focus on in entrepreneurial thinking, we offer hands-on experiences. So we like to teach people to come in and just test things. What could you build? Here's an idea, or we teach them actually how to come up with an idea. That's kind of where we start. How do you even come up with an idea for a business? Then we teach them how to formulate that idea into an actual product. And we do that through hands-on experiences. We build milestone-based programs. So when you walk through our programs, there's very milestone based. Okay, first you're going to test the market. We don't push anybody to start a business before they're ready. We want to de-risk those companies very early on. And so we make sure specifically for first generation students that may be kind of hesitant to go into entrepreneurship. I think there's a mindset from their families, you're going to school to get a degree and get a job, a stable job, right? So we give them that space to explore and test things before they make that commitment. One of the things that John had mentioned that we align with too is that it's okay to fail in our space. Usually what we're doing in our space that aligns with what Ann's programs are doing and all the other entrepreneurial programs is that we're teaching students that it's okay to not be an entrepreneur, just learn the entrepreneurial mindset and the growth mindset. We reach out to students a lot. We work a lot with campus entities to make sure that students know that we're here and that we are a non-academic program. We make sure it's accessible. So we make sure that we actually host a co-working space. It's a public building that's open 8 to 5, and people can just walk in and get drive-by consulting on their business at any time. And then we provide a lot of mentorship, and I'll talk to that a little bit in a moment, but to John's point, we do a lot of mentorships. We have over 70 different mentors in our program. So we'll talk about how that works. Go ahead, next slide. There are 21 different innovation spaces throughout the Commonwealth. So they're tied to all the Commonwealth campuses. And most of them are located in downtown locations. They're open to the public. So it was President Barron's mission to make sure that when he stood up these spaces, they not only serve the students, faculty, and staff, but also the communities that they were in. And so we offer no-cost services throughout those 21 different spaces. And we all serve a little bit of a different mission. So what we realized when we stood up those 21 different spaces was that we each area had a different need. And so what my lunchbox does is a little bit different from the rest of the lunchboxes. It's just a need in the community and a need from the students. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit about what those different Launchbox innovation networks have accomplished. I won't walk through all this, but you can see the map of all the different locations. 90% of Pennsylvanians live within 30 miles of a Launchbox. So if you're looking to start a business, or if your family's looking to start a business, or if you're a student on campus, we try to create a pretty accessible space. Next slide, please. So most of the spaces are co-working spaces. We offer free Wi-Fi, coffee, and we have occasional co-working meals. Anne may know about this. We do grilled cheese and pancakes, but we try to just create an environment that's family-like. It's really my mission as the director of the space to create a space where you can just want to be around cool entrepreneurs and you want to just be supported no matter where you're at. Sometimes, a lot of times you can be in this space and you can be a student just kind of dipping your toes in and working right next to millionaires who have exited their companies, right? So that we want to create an environment that's just really open and accessible. We have drive-by consulting. So if you were in my office, you'd see I have completely glass windows. You can stop in anytime I'm in my office. We also have an idea catalyst. So if you have like this burning idea in your heart, you should be able to walk into a lunchbox and get consultation right away and get pointed to the resources you need. So trying to reduce those barriers. We have conference rooms. So if you do start to grow your business and you don't have a physical location, we have conference rooms, there's Zoom rooms, they're open completely to the public or students. Students use them for studying from time to time. And again, this is all at no cost. So we know that a lot of times what the barrier is that the students and any entrepreneur is just that financial responsibility to get started. So we try to reduce that. Next slide, please. We partner with campus programs a lot. We offer entrepreneurial workshops for classes focused on entrepreneurship. So we do about 70 classes a year for the different organizations and different groups around the campus. We focus on design thinking. So we teach the students how to do this entrepreneurial mindset thinking, and it combines kind of an academic program with non-academic resources. It's a great way for us, like, why do we do this? It's a great way for us to get people in the building and see what we're doing. But we just also really love spurring the idea of entrepreneurial thinking across the campus. And you never know what kind of ideas you may spur and support, and then those people start to trickle in. So that's how we work together with the campus resources. Next slide, please. If you don't know about professional clinics, this is a resource, actually statewide resource that sits in the Happy Valley Launchbox. The Entrepreneurial Law Assistance Clinic offers free law assistance to anybody looking to make a startup. And they also, so things like entity formation and contract negotiation. If you're going to sign a lease, they'll look over those. There's a lot of different resources. But again, what we're trying to do is reduce the barrier to entry and reduce risk. And we know that we're not going to serve clients who have the ability to access a law firm for their own use, for their business. But this resource is for those people who wouldn't typically hire a lawyer, and they may put themselves at risk. So again, trying to de-risk. We have the intellectual property clinic here next to our office right next to Anne's on our floor. And they're another great resource. So free IP law assistance. You do have to pay the filing fees, but all the lawyer consultations are free. And that's, again, available throughout the state. So all these students and their communities, their parents can come in and get those resources. And we also partner with the Small Business Development Center. If you're not familiar with those resources, that's supported by the SBA, and they help businesses get started and grow as well. Again, located at the Launchbox and no costs. So one of our sweet spots that we sit into is we offer accelerator programs, and we offer small amounts of seed funding, 24/7 access to our building. So if you don't have the ability to actually have your own office space, you can set up in the Launchbox as your office space. If you get into our programs, we get one-on-one mentoring, and that's kind of, to John's point, what he was talking about as a really important tool for students, first-generation students, and students as they're growing. And what we found in our programs is that our students actually say, the money was great, and the resources were really great, but the mentoring was what was really life-changing for me. We take no equity in our companies, and we don't charge rent for our companies. So we have a bunch of, if you're interested in learning about the different programs, you can visit our website. But we move them from early idea phase all the way down to getting those first sales. And we're now near $40 million worth of funding from some of our startups. So next slide, please. So this is where it kind of ties together what John was talking about in the mentorship, and really a problem that we're trying to make sure we address better as a unit across entrepreneurship. But we know that our advisors are some of the best gifts that we can give to our students. They not only they're almost like mini therapists built in to helping with business needs. So our advisors are industry experts from diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging to software engineering, whatever specifically you're looking for. Our teams will reach out to 7-8 advisors during a 10-week program to really connect on what their needs are for their company. So our list is about 70 plus deep, and we're always growing. We're always taking more advisors, and we really encourage people not only to get involved with being an advisor, because it's I think a gift that that keeps giving back. I think we just had a pitch contest last week, and a couple of advisors came out, and they were incredibly honored to be a part of that program and to see what they're like raising kids, like, oh my gosh, they've grown up so much this semester. So that's such a great gift to be able to give back to the students. You can access some of our advisors on our website. Some are open to the public, and they want to be accessible. So anybody from the public can actually go on there and start to connect with advisors whenever. But we do have some secret advisors who say, like, wait till they get to a certain point before you send. And we have advisors who have we have this former CTO of GitHub. We have advisors who've sold, exited companies, gone through Y Combinator, if you know what that is. So our advisors are incredibly diverse. Next slide, please. So what can a growth mindset accomplish? And so we're tying this all together, and what we've done here today, and Ann and I work closely together, and John and Sadan, and we, from our programs, graduated 175 startups. What we like to be is a safe space to test your being an entrepreneur. We have no metrics tied to what we do. So I don't need to force these kids to go start companies. I just need them to learn the entrepreneurial mindset, and this can be a great space to do that in. And we've created some jobs and served a ton of coffee. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Sadan to kind of pull it all together.
Let me interrupt just for a second. I want to set some context for what Shadan is going to talk about. We talk about starting businesses, but it needn't be a business. And I want to emphasize that this is not something just for business students. We've had more than 20,000 Penn State students from 174 different majors come through our programs. So this is absolutely for every undergraduate at Penn State.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shadan, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Shadan Konak, professor at Penn State Berks, and I am the director of the Seed Center for Creativity, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development. And so my colleagues here set the stage wonderfully so that I can go through my slides quickly. But before doing that, I would like to thank our wonderful organizers. The program, even itself, made me think about or reflect about my own experiences. Like one comment during the keynote speech during lunch, like having the first flight to graduate school. I, in fact, did get my first flight to my graduate schools overseas, of course. So it was a big flight, a long flight. Anyways, so what I would like to talk, first of all, I need to warn you folks, I will be trying to summarize some research findings here, but together of these two funded research, this is like 6 to 7 years of research, still ongoing. So I'm only giving a tip of the iceberg here, talking about, but I would be happy to share anything with audience at large always. So I will be talking about two of the research findings, as I said, one of them through Penn State Social Science Research Institute and the other through the NSF, and it is the three university collaboration, Penn State, Lehigh, and Cornell. Next slide, please. And I guess all my colleagues gave the background very well. I will be just saying that we have a large ecosystem for entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, starting your business, growth mindset, whatever needs. And I cannot be more than agree with Anne saying this is not just for one group of students. In fact, I hear most wonderful comments from our other students from other disciplines, because they are saying that classes are so different than my own major, so, or the programs. So they are very happy. Next slide, please. So my our focus for this part of the presentation will be on the innovation competitions and programs. It's like a very small part of our holistic approach to this, growth mindset education, if you will. And very shortly, we believe that students gain transformational skills such as creativity, teamwork, leadership, and building innovative mindset, just to name a few, through these co-curricular experiences. But the caveat is not many students, as much as we loved, take these opportunities and then collaborate with one another and take advantage of these programs or so, more so to our underrepresented students and first-gen students. And we are trying to uncover the barriers for that end. Please, my next slide. So in here, I would just say, again, our research problems and research, the problems in our research and the questions, only a few of them related to this panel today. As I said, we do we witness those low participations, and looking at the literature, we cannot see the theoretical framework or a framework-based study to understand what is going on, what are the factors, what are the barriers, what are underrepresented students' perceptions of these innovation competitions and programs, and what barriers and challenges for those students. So we hope to suggest, by doing this research, we hope to suggest some interventions to increase the diversity and inclusiveness of those programs. Next slide, please. I have to be very quick in this research model slide. I just put it there because I wanted to have it complete. But basically, maybe it's good to mention we are using some framework, basically self-determination theory and social and disciplinary context under theory of plant behavior. And we are looking of the expectancies, value, cost in different directions, and relatedness, belongingness, and awareness. I know it's a lot, but we are trying to even map those with some exogenous variables, like some background of those students, gender, ethnicity, academic majors, and that I highlighted here, entrepreneurial family background. So I'm kind of giving the voice of first-gen entrepreneurs here. I'm just giving the results in terms of those. Next slide, please. So in part of one study, what we did is we surveyed 249 students from many diverse majors. And so you can see those different genders, class standings, and we importantly, we ask them if they have any entrepreneurs in their family. If so, how many? Because we are trying to see the relationship between that and growth mindset and cultivating innovative thinking skills, so on and so forth. Next slide, please. In this one, I would like to mention about the overall low awareness, as I believe it was already mentioned. John started that topic, low awareness levels, although we keep saying that we are providing this, that, all those, right? But students are still saying that, oh, I didn't really know about that program exists, or I didn't really know about that facility exists, type of things. And we do find our results really significantly related with the students' majors. So students from some majors are more aware than the others about those programs or so. Next slide, please. And in this slide, you are seeing the participants rating their utility values versus attainment values. Utility value in the sense of what is their career goals, development type of, versus attainment, meaning like importance to their self-identity. So they rated the utility value higher. And in this one, entrepreneurial family background plays a significant role. We realize that. Next slide, please. And so we were also, as part of this research, we were also interviewing mentors all over the states, actually, United States, so nationwide. And we ask our mentors a whole bunch of questions, but related to, out of like maybe those 12 to 13 questions, if I had to pull a few, some of our mentors, especially mentors who themselves are coming from underrepresented backgrounds, mentioned two really important things for us. One, they said that families, like those families, advise their first-gen students to finish their degrees and just focus on finishing their degrees on time, but not focusing on extracurriculars. And that was kind of striking for us, because all of our trial here is how we can bring them into our co-curricular activities. And again, those particular mentors also said that like most first-gen students support their own educations. So that they have no extra time to spend on campus, because after the class, they just need to run to their, second shift to pay for their bills. My next slide. This slide is just leaving our wonderful audience today with some questions in mind. So we would like to ask you to start thinking about what will be one new quantifiable goal today that you are starting to think of to increase student participation, if you didn't think of that before, which I doubt, because we always talk about that. And while doing that, if I give you a hint, for our students, they want to lower the cost, but they want to increase the value, so that they want to find that sweet spot. So I would love to hear from our audience about on those lines and what everybody is thinking. Thanks for everyone participating. And we hopefully have some time for the questions, but I'm giving back to Anne right now.
Okay, thanks, Shadan. Okay, so we've zoomed through a lot of stuff really quickly in this hour, and we've got about 10 minutes left, but let's just review sort of the ground we covered very quickly. So I first just sort of set the stage by explaining what a growth mindset means to us and how it relates to entrepreneurship education, and that pie that has three pieces: coursework, the credit-bearing work that students do, then the co-curriculars, and then work and professional and startup experiences. John talked to us about his journey and his role as a mentor and what he sees for the future of what Penn State could be doing. And then Elizabeth very quickly walked us through all the resources that are available. And that was a lot. By the way, you can follow up with all of us later. Our emails are in the next slide. And then how the research has informed what Shadan on this research project has learned about student entrepreneurs, mentors, and what their backgrounds, attitudes, and behaviors might, how that might bear on their experience here. So as Shadan said, we really want to hear from you at this point on what we could be doing. And Shadan, I really like your slide. What's one thing we can do? I guess you're saying maybe what can we do to overcome the important message that they get from their families, which is don't do all three things in the pie, just do your major, your coursework, and graduate. And so the co-curriculars and getting involved in a startup or professional experience might be less important to the families. Is that right? Yep. Okay, so Nicole, what's the best way for us to use our last 10 minutes here with our audience?
Well, our audience has been very active by this point in the day, which is great to hear. So we do have about 4 questions that they have been asking for you. So I think we should, let's start answering those. The first question is, how can we work on developing our growth mindset on a daily basis?
Maybe I can say quick something, and do you have an answer for that? Okay, so what we do usually is we are trying to embed creativity exercises, little exercises, creative problem solving exercises in each classes, programs, so that students start thinking very cliche but outside the box. So we are kind of defining what is the box with them when we go to those classes to do our workshops or so. And those workshops can be done anywhere from K-12, which we have done, to like professional organizations. And I also heard Elizabeth saying about that too. Even if you have an idea, you don't know how to build an idea, come. You're right, Elizabeth, you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we do in our space too is we're creating a space where you can meet co-founders, right? And so you can come into this space and maybe you have this wild and crazy idea, but you don't have the technical chops to build it. But we are creating a space where hopefully people can get connected as well. So that's a great point. And I think to John's point, one of the ways that people can help build their growth mindset is getting connected with mentors and making sure that they're getting the support they need to believe in themselves.
I'll add one thing. We have a course. It's called Management 215. It's available at many campuses, and we have long had a section of Management 215 on the DLC. So if you just have 1 or 2 students at your campus, you can pick up a seat. And the name of that course is the Entrepreneurial Mindset. And so just taking that 3-credit class would be, I think, one strategy for developing and practicing a growth mindset.
I'll just add one more thing. I think what we find too is that a lot of students go through K through 12 just trying to get the grades so they can get into college. And I spend a lot of my time in my programs trying to teach students to test and be okay with failure. And so another way to get over that growth mindset, or to get to that growth mindset spot, is to embrace failure, put yourself out there and be able to kind of say, okay, I may fail, but I'm going to put myself out there. So being in part of some of these programs, and specifically for first gen students, it might be kind of intimidating to put yourself out there, but we want to create a space where they can be okay to fail.
So Elizabeth, I think the next question will expand a little bit more on what you mentioned before. The information you gave in the slides was fabulous, and I think it kind of triggered all of our minds to keep spinning a little more with ideas. So this person asks, how does the idea catalyst work at the Launchbox?
Ooh, yeah.
Well, if you don't know Ben Nason, he's actually sitting right across from me. I see him right now. He is a master of ideas, and we do a few different things, but if he runs programs to help people think of ideas, right? So you can come in and say, I just want to be an entrepreneur. I don't have any idea. And he can help you think of things. Like we do an activity called the Hate List, which is brought to us by JT Marino. I don't have enough time to tell his story, but look up the Tufton Needle. He was a Penn State student, and he created his company because he hated mattress shopping. And so what we teach people is find something you really don't like to do, some problem that you need to solve, and chances are there's someone else with the problem. So really Ben's job is to help people find problems, identify problems in the world, and then solve those problems. And we know that entrepreneurs who are solving problems are going to build things customers want. Did that answer the question? Kind of any additional?
Yeah, so Ben is the idea catalyst. If you were thinking an idea catalyst was like a machine that we put you in,
Yeah.
it's a guy
It's
named
Ben.
Ben.
Okay, yeah, it's a guy named Ben, and he's fabulous. He helps people spur ideas.
Great. Ben may be overloaded in emails over the next week.
We'll have to come through my website. So,
Okay, next question. Do you think that offering mindfulness practices to students can help them to develop a growth mindset?
yeah, this is an excellent question. I'll take it. I was telling the team ahead of time, I also, on my side job, I'm a yoga teacher, and I think one of my coworkers or another yoga teacher in the room that I see. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that we can use mindfulness to create a growth mindset. I think specifically if we talk about the first generation student, we can talk about self-awareness and just using mindfulness to help build self-awareness in their own space. I think also mindfulness helps to create a space of acceptance of your own self, right? And so we can use those tools of mindfulness practice to help create that growth mindset because you become more accepted. Emotional regulation as well. I think that's huge. A lot of times I'm working with teams. What we find is we're more counselors in our space. It's not that we're expertise. We give them the tools they need, but we find that the teams are going through a lot and they need to use that mindfulness to emotionally self-regulate and focus and focus. I think that's helpful too for students and can help go to that growth mindset. But does any of the rest of the team here have anything else to add about mindfulness and self growth mindset?
Well, I practice it, I guess, until I heard that question. I hadn't thought about how it might influence my own effectiveness as a teacher, researcher, or entrepreneur, but it sure does help.
Yeah. And stress reduction. I think the older we get, that's a big part too.
Okay, so we have about 3 minutes left, and both of these questions relate to different populations at Penn State. The first question is, I work for World Campus students, and I'm wondering if World Campus students can get the mentoring service from Launchbox.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the programs, I didn't have time to go through all our programs, but we are open to, I mean, it depends, our mission, and we're funded through Pennsylvania economic development first. So we really want to serve the state of Pennsylvania. So if you're outside of the state of Pennsylvania, it's also okay if you're a Penn State student, but our primary mission is for economic development within the state of Pennsylvania. But we do run a program called Summer Founders, which is where we give $15,000 to student startups over the summer. And in Summer Founders program, we extend an invitation to any student. It's our only program that's only student-based, and World Campus students are included in that program.
And the next question relates to our graduate students. Can they use this resource, and how do we connect with this population?
Let me take that one. First of all, anybody who's got contact with graduate students, May 11th, the graduate school is doing an all day. In fact, it might just be more than one day, but it's called academic to industry or something like that. And it's a whole day of events exploring, it's for graduate students, exploring career options. If you want to go into academia or research or industry or start a company, that's what that day is about. So May 11th, look at the grad school website. I don't have all the details, but I'll be presenting at that with some PhDs who became entrepreneurs instead of or after becoming academics. And so there, as far as for credit education, there isn't a lot for graduate students, but Elizabeth and Shadan, you can speak to what's available to graduate students that has nothing to do with university credit.
Sure. I mean, again, I want to reiterate, our programs are open to all students, faculty, staff, and community. So, anybody is welcome to take advantage of any of the Launchbox services at all 21 locations, regardless of your status with the university. It's one of my hardest jobs is to break down that barrier and let people know that we really are a community resource, but also open to grad students as well.
Maybe I can add to that in terms of research perspective. We do have in our research groups, we do have graduates and undergraduate research students. We are loving to mentoring them, like was the research. Most of the findings that I presented today, we couldn't be done. We couldn't not finish that without their help, interviewing and everything. So
yeah, and just one, I know we're out of time. Invent Penn State as a whole, if you're doing some graduate research and you come up with an idea tied to that research, we have a different type pipeline to take you through because there's some IP that might be tied to that. But we can also help you work through that process so that you can find you can do a startup. So.
And I did share your email addresses. Our presenters' email addresses should be on your screen right now. I think this was a wonderful session. 46 participants attended this session from all the Commonwealth campuses and university parks. So I really appreciate the willingness for this program and the information to be spread across all the campuses. I think it's a really wonderful opportunity for all of our Penn State students. So thank you to the presenters, thank you to all of our participants. And I will leave this slide up for another minute or two in case anyone would like to jot down those email addresses. So thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.
And again,
Thank you,
everybody,
Elizabeth.
please remember to complete your session evaluations and don't forget to go in Whova and check out the community discussion boards before the end of the day also.
Sounds good.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
I'm just going to stick around for whatever might be going on here.
Thank you so much for that presentation. That was really great information. I just started at Penn State back in November. So for me, it was extremely helpful information.
Oh, that's great, Nicole. Nicole, you were the master of reading our minds with the slide deck. Thank you.
Well, and I'm thinking to myself, I have two sons up at University Park, and I'm thinking to myself, they're getting text messages right after this saying, hey, have you heard about this?
Yeah. They need to come down to, Elizabeth and I are in the same building. It's downtown, and it, like Elizabeth said, it's open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. They don't need to call, they can just walk in and they'll find Ben, the idea catalyst. I'm usually here unless I'm teaching a class, or I'm often at other campuses. Like yesterday I was at York, the day before that I was at Mont Alto. So I'm not always here, but if Elizabeth or I are not here, Ben probably is.
I feel like he could have his own like Instagram channel or something, like Ben, the idea guy.
Ben, the idea guy. Yes, he could. We are serving pancakes tomorrow morning, so if they're interested, they can.
That'll get them. That'll get them, Elizabeth. That's the way. You offer food, you'll have half the campus there.
Yes.
Oh, and Elizabeth also mentioned the grilled cheese. That's one lunch, and it's not just grilled cheese. It's a delicious grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup.
Mm-hmm.
And your face lit up when she said grilled cheese. I did notice that.
Yeah. So we would love to chat to your boys. I have a son starting on campus in the fall too, and I'm like, buddy, you got to get in here.
Yeah.
So
and tell your sons also, we're super welcoming. It's, sometimes they'll walk into chaos. So that's all part of, like the growth mindset, right? Embrace it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Nicole.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.